Hello everyone, my name is Torin, I'm the developer behind Eternal Tabletop, and today I would like to show you some of the terrain editing tools that we have that will be coming out with the Eternal Tabletop. So here we have just a basic generated terrain that has been generated inside Eternal Tabletop. You'll be able to set up different ways of generating terrains, islands, mountains, anything like that, different heights, all that sort of stuff. But for today I wanted to show you what we can do with it once we have the basic shape in place. So as you can see here, I have a bit of a kind of a brush going on. Let me just adjust it to be somewhat smaller. There we go. And what can we do? So we can, for example, raise terrain. There we go. So this brush here raises it. Let me just make the size maybe a little bit bigger so it's easier to see. So as you can see, we can raise a new mountain. Similarly, we can of course lower the terrain. There we go. We can lower and make a bit of a lower spot there. Okay. Next, what can we do? We can, for example, I decide that I want to, let's say this area would look nice as a kind of a place to have an encounter, but I don't want it to be so jagged and up and down. I want it to be more or less flat. So I can pick a height, let's say this one, and we can switch to a tool that will set everything to the exact height that we need. That way we can have a nice level playing field. Of course we can set to a different height. If we sample the mountain over there, we can then set everything to the height of that mountain. There we go. Now, of course, something very useful is the ability to smooth the terrain down. So here we have a brush that just does exactly that. It just goes ahead and averages out the heights under the brush. Next, what can we do? So as you noticed, we actually, when we, for example, raise the terrain, right? When we raise it, it actually automatically, if we have it set up, it will automatically paint cliffs on there or anything like that. So we have set up cliffs textures and all that good stuff, then it will automatically do all the hard work for us and color them accordingly, including paint the snow where it is necessary. However, let's say we want to maybe we don't like the fact that the cliff just kind of ends here, so we maybe want a little bit more of it. Well, we can actually paint more of a texture like that. Or let's say an even better use case would be to paint, for example, let me just find the right texture, would be to paint a path. It's a nice and small brush. There we go. So we can actually paint, oh, that's the wrong texture, there we go. Oh. Here. There we go. So we can paint a nice sort of dirt path going along, and you'll be able to of course set up these textures to the ones that you really want. So like if you want cobblestone path or dirt path, you'll be able to do that. So you just paint a nice path winding around. Now as you can see, the path will paint over any other texture that there is, and sort of like any texture you pick, you can paint over what the computer has decided automatically. However, if you want to revert back to it, you can also do that. You can just simply erase the textures you've painted, but leave the textures that the computer thinks are the correct ones. So just nice and easy like that. In addition to that, we can do something really cool. And we, for example, can, I'm just going to set a smaller brush size, paint on lava flows. So you can see we get nice flowing lava, and as you can see, so on the flat area it doesn't really flow much, but on the hills it actually tends to flow downwards, just like that. Similarly, we can just erase it, of course, if we have it too much or we don't need it or whatever. We can erase the lava, just like that, and as you can see, it actually removes the snow where, you know, the lava is nearby, and chars the terrain slightly around it. Next, we have streams, so it's just like lava, but it's water. So we can paint a water stream, again, flows down the mountain. And then when it gets to the bottom, it slows down and doesn't flow as much. There we go. And of course, just like lava, we can clear the stream as well. There you go. Nice and easy like that. So next, let's take a look at the snow. Let's find a good mountain, like this one here. So we got some snow here, right? Well, if we were to try and, let's say, paint a path up onto the mountain. Let's just set a smaller brush. And by the way, the user interface is not quite ready yet, so it's yeah, it's still in development. But anyways, so if we were to try and paint a nice small, just type that in, 3. Small path going down like that. I don't know if you can actually see it here, but let's try to zoom right in. So right, you try to paint like a cobblestone path or something going up into the mountain. You can see that the snow actually tends to cover it up, which is, you know, as you would expect. Snow wouldn't just ignore a path. However, if you decide that maybe it was this path actually gets cleared or whatever, you can go ahead and remove the snow in this area and say that, well, somebody came along and actually removed the snow along the path. That way, yeah, that way it's you can get it just the way you want it, or you can paint it back, right? You can get the snow back. So right now the snow just follows the rules of where it needs to go. Later you'll be able to paint it in other areas, like let's say you wanted to paint it lower in the elevation. Right now you can just adjust how high it goes, but in the future you can actually paint it anywhere as well. Okay, so that's snow. The next thing that's a little bit different, but it is sort of in a similar sort of the tool kit itself is very similar. We're using actually the same techniques for that. Is the fog of war. And there we go. Just had a small hiccup there with the fog of war, but no problem. Got it solved in no time. Alright, so fog of war. Let's set it up. It's a little bit too bright. Right, we can reduce it. We can make it nice and gray, so it's not as hard on the eyes. But as you can see, we can just go ahead and paint along and paint this fog up, and we can actually hide this lava stream. And as you can see, it actually does follow the terrain, so your players will see the change in elevation. But other than that, it does hide everything else, the objects and everything, quite nicely. So there we go. We can paint it on. We can go ahead and remove it where necessary. So let's say we can clear a small path through it, just to show you guys. So as you can see, it does have a bit of height to it. So when you're actually up and close with the miniatures, it will make a little bit more sense. Also keep in mind that as a dungeon master, you would have you will be able to see through the fog, right? So this is meant for you to hide stuff from your players, but you would be, for you, so the way we're going to represent it for dungeon masters will be an overlay. Basically it will show like a slightly tinted terrain where the fog is and none where there isn't. That way, you know, you can still see the monsters hiding in it and whatever you need to as a dungeon master, but your players won't. So there we go. And Fog of War, as you saw earlier, I did change the color of it. It's fairly easy. You'll be able to set it up just to whatever you like. Let's say you are in a swamp and you want a nice green looking fog, no problem. You can see lava glows pretty bright, so it actually pokes through a little bit. Something to look into, but yeah. Or let's say you're in some sort of a magic dimension of some sort and you want a purpley pink fog. Yeah, that's doable as well. So there we go. That's one of the cool things there. And yeah, I mean, with brushes you can really do anything you like. I mean, actually that's one of the ways I foresee us, you know, being able to do caverns and sort of the caves and such, is basically carving them into the terrain and making it work that way. But yeah, so there we go.